Hi, I'm Anqoinette Crosby at the museum here in downtown D.C. Its eye-opening exhibits bring to life the history of the First Amendment and the free press. This museum is one of the coolest interactive experiences in the world. It has 7 levels for you to explore. You can spend hours immersed in its 15 galleries and theaters. Hang with me as I show you one of the exhibits that's on display right now. That in a moment, but first, welcome to Artico, art in your community. There are vivid pictures of war, peace, disaster, and triumph. Some will make you smile and others will break your heart. These are the images that you'll see in the museum's groundbreaking photography show. It's called Pictures of the Year, 75 Years of the World's Best Photography. You'll take in 7 decades of award-winning pictures. They come from the archives of Pictures of the Year International Photojournalism Competition.
The Pictures of the Year exhibition here at the museum is a collaboration that we've established with our partner Pictures of the Year, which is the oldest and most prestigious contest, photography-based in the world. And so this year marks their 75th birthday, and we thought it was an important occasion to collaborate and put together this exhibition that shows some of the most important photographs in the last 75 years, made by some of the most talented and well-known photographers in the industry. 40,000 photographs have been winners in all of the different categories that they have had, which have evolved throughout the years. From there on, the museum brought it down after a long process of an editorial selection to about 20,000. And from there on, our team and in collaboration with Pictures of the Year put together the assortment that we see now of a little bit over 100 photographs. We see the human spirit reflected in people trying to defend their rights and their positions, how civil rights has evolved, and yet again we still have some of the same issues repeating and coming up time and time again. We see the photographs at the very beginning of the exhibition when we can see students at the Pentagon protesting. We see this photo right here of Aisha Evans in Baton Rouge. We see the photo of the man in Tiananmen Square, which is called Tank Man, where he's standing in front of these tanks that the police are sending down the street. We see the recurring theme of someone that is trying to stand up for what he or she believes, trying to stand up for their rights and show that people can and do make change. We show a lot of firsts. We have the first time that domestic abuse has been depicted. We have first time when some physical disabilities are portrayed in a very frank, normal way, which is something that was not shown before. We show first time that a mastectomy happened to a woman. And this is something that seems pretty commonplace right now, but at the time when this was photographed and it won an award, it was something that had not been seen before. And so the photographers, the photojournalists, try to show their message, not just to show you a photograph that is aesthetically beautiful, but to try to effect change and to tell these stories that were untold and to make people be aware of the issues that are happening around them. We wanted to make sure that we not only represent photographers that are famous and well-known, but also stories that were important. And sometimes those stories were captured by photographers that were not well-known at all. Sometimes the photographers were fairly unknown at the moment when they made the photos and went on to become very well-known and famous photojournalists. So there's a little bit of everything.
Well, the museum also offers some of the most beautiful views of D.C., and we thought we'd come out to the balcony and take advantage of it. Well, it's one of the most sensuous Latin dances, and Sylvia Alexiev is primed to teach it. She's been a world-class dancer for years. Originally from Bulgaria, Sylvia came to the U.S. when she was 20 and fell in love with salsa. Today, she shares her passion at her dance studio, Salsa with Sylvia. Her classes are often packed with eager students wanting to learn salsa. But there's another dance that's gaining popularity. Get ready to pop, dip, and body roll. This is bachata.
I love bachata. The music is fantastic. So what is bachata? So bachata is a dance that originated from the Dominican Republic. That's where it was born, that's where the dance was born, and that's where the music was born. Bachata is very popular around the world, and it's a great dance to learn. It became really popular in the 80s. Now, the original bachata is Bachata Dominicana, so Dominican Bachata, and then after that we have sensual bachata. Sensual bachata became really popular in the 90s. So, just to tell you a little bit about the difference between the styles, the original bachata is more consisting of syncopated footwork and less intimacy, I would say. And then the sensual bachata, the partners are closer together and it has more circular movement and more body flow, or what we call body rolls. Around 2005, another style emerged, and it's called a fusion bachata style. So what fusion is, it's based on the original Dominican bachata style, but it has a lot of modern influence. So influence from other styles like salsa, tango, zouk, and just other more modern styles of dance. Bachata moves left to right, right to left, and salsa moves forward and back. Salsa is, I would say, generally more energetic and faster style. So that's the main difference. And then also with bachata, you have a lot of hip movement. So the move is 3 steps to the left and 3 steps to the right, but after the 3 steps you have a tap, which is a hip pop. So you pop your hip, and that's it's like a signature thing for bachata. We give our students an opportunity to learn starting with the the Dominican bachata, so they don't necessarily have to start with sensual bachata, so they can learn the basics of bachata without necessarily being close to their partner or more intimate with their partner. There's a way to lead the moves in an open position so that it's not intimidating if you don't know your partner or if you don't want to be so close with your partner. More and more students join the bachata classes, and they truly enjoy the music, and they even relax a little bit and learn how to be closer to their partner without feeling intimidated. Of course, our signature service is salsa, because we're Salsa with Sylvia, and that's what most of our students come here for. We generally find that bachata is a little bit easier to learn than salsa, and we think that's because of the way the music is orchestrated with bachata versus salsa. So bachata, it's the way the music is, it's easier for the students to find the rhythm and to find the beat. But both dance styles are super fun, and we just want our students to enjoy and just relax and have fun with it.
That looks like so much fun. Sylvia, save me a spot. Many of us have been impacted by breast cancer. This being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we visit a special organization that's giving people with cancer a new lease on life. At the Smith Center for Healing and the Arts, clients explore the healing relationship between art and wellness. It's a place for renewing the body, mind, and soul.
So Smith Center for Healing and the Arts is a nonprofit health, education, and arts organization in Washington, D.C. And our mission is to develop and promote healing practices that would help people to cultivate their own ability to heal.
We're really focused on providing wellness and healing services for people in our community who are living with cancer and their families.
There's a variety of art programs that we offer at the Smith Center. We have programs from creative expression, which is like writing classes. We have programs that are more artistic, where people have to paint, they do collages. So all of that is a healing process, and everybody finds in it what they are supposed to find.
I've been leading art and wellness workshops for about 2 years now. I have a degree in behavioral and community health and a degree in art, and I'm really interested in combining mental health and art for people in communities who are not trained as artists to make this power accessible to communities. I guide participants through expressive exercises to really visualize certain emotions such as anger, hurt, frustration, but also channeling positive emotions and grounding techniques to imagine a more empowered and whole self. I think oftentimes in face of illness, people feel helpless and out of, not in control. So I think art, creating a piece of artwork, even as someone who's not trained as an artist, is really therapeutic. People are able to control what they create, and that really allows them to feel a sense of control over their situation, even if they are not able to have a lot of control over their illness. And I think that's really empowering.
Smith Center for Healing and Arts transformed my life because I came here first as a volunteer, and I started to take classes myself, and I fell in love with it because I haven't painted or did anything artistic in years, and I just found that, like, with all this love and support that exists here at the Smith Center, I was able to let go of all my fears and to just dive in. And you know, other participants in the classes like that have told me that they feel the same, and that's why we have people come back.
The social component of these art and wellness workshops is the strongest. People walk in as strangers, but I witness them being vulnerable with each other and being very open and connecting as a community, and it feels very beautiful and sacred to share that space with them.
We want to congratulate this next group. For 25 years, they've been making great music and changing lives in the process.
The East of the River Boys and Girls Steel Band is the brainchild of Dr. Gladys Whitworth Gray. She fell in love with steel pan music during a trip to Trinidad and Tobago. When she returned to D.C., she decided to bring the art form to the kids living east of the Anacostia River. Today, the group is led by Executive Director Linda Fisher.
There's a broad range of music that the young people do. Of course, we do some Caribbean music, some calypso music. We do R&B, pop, gospel, and even jazz music. The steel pan is such a versatile instrument. The age group of our participants are generally tweens and early teens. We have some that are 10 up to about 14, 15, but we'll take them up to 18. We rehearse twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, in the evening from 5:30 to 8 at the Episcopal Church of the Atonement in Southeast Washington, D.C. The students learn by the traditional Trinidadian method of rote repetition. They do not read music to learn the songs. They'll learn a line, the instructor will show them how to play it on their pans, where the notes are, and they will, study and practice and repeat it till they have it correct. The steel band has performed in many places locally. We have performed at Wolf Trap, we've performed at the Smithsonian, at the museum, we performed at the Folk Life Festival, and things like the Barbecue Battle. We've also had the opportunity to travel to Trinidad and Tobago and perform. And every year, the band has gone to perform at the Gullah Festival in South Carolina. They also won second place at the Apollo Theater. So it's been a wonderful travel experience and learning experience for our young people. We always enjoy the benefit from the support of the community. And so when you hear about the steel band, come out, support us, visit with us, drop in on a rehearsal, and we'll be glad to share with you our experiences. And it means a lot to our young people to know that there's so many in our village that is supporting the steel band.
Fall is here and there's lots to do. Here's what's coming up.
Gala Theater presents its 14th annual Flamenco Festival. See some of the hottest flamenco performers. Get your tickets for November 8th through the 11th. Check out the play Not Without My Hijab. It was written by Halima de Oliveira. The play deals with the struggles Muslim American girls have with Islamic identity. Catch the DC debut at Howard University. Tickets can be purchased at Ticketmaster or at the Crampton box office. At the next WHUT community screening, it's a documentary, Quest. The film follows a Philadelphia family when Barack Obama was president. It's a moving portrait. We watch the Quest raise their family while nurturing a community of hip-hop artists in their basement home studio. This free screening takes place at the Arc in Southeast DC on Thursday, November 8th at 6:30 p.m. RSVPs are required. Call 202-806-3200 or go online at WHUT.org. And it's a full day of literary fun. Check out the East of the River Book Festival. It'll be held at the Thurgood Marshall Academy Public Charter High School. It's on Sunday, October 20th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Looking for a scary thrill this Halloween? How about the classic horror film Nosferatu? This 1922 silent thriller set the standard for all vampire films to follow. It runs October 27th and 28th at AFI. There will be live music to accompany the movie. Check listings for showtimes.
Chris Styles Bacon and Nishta Raj have been a dynamic duo for almost a decade. They blend Eastern and Western musical styles with creative flair.
Because of my heritage, I had a deep desire to dig a little deeper into the classical music of India. So after college, I got a scholarship to study in India. So I moved to India, and that sort of began my journey learning Indian classical music.
My musical origins. I grew up in Southeast Washington, D.C., in a hood we call Condon Terrace. And there and in Southeast and DC in general, we have a style of music called go-go, created by this guy named Chuck Brown. And so it's the heartbeat of the city. And I grew up playing this type of music informally. So I would get the buckets and trash cans and bang on those and stuff. And I would make sounds like... My style of music, I call it progressive hip hop. I call it progressive hip hop because I take traditional elements in hip hop, such as beatboxing, vocal percussion, and rhyming. And I mix it with different genres of music.
So I have trained specifically in the North Indian classical style of music on the violin, and my interest really lies in intersecting different genres of music, and I like to find out how I can use, I write, compose, arrange music that's rooted in Indian classical, so I have that strong flavor, but bringing in different elements to the music to make it accessible to a wider audience. We met in 2011 at the Lincoln Theater on U Street. There was a program happening. The National Endowment for the Arts has a national Poetry Out Loud festival every year. We started sharing about our musical experiences, and he said we should try to work something out together. And
it's been like 7 years now.
Yep.
I feel that our music pushes the envelope in many ways.
Also, I think we're, through our music, we're bringing people together of different cultures, very diverse cultures. So I think it's really great to look out into the audience when we're performing and we see young and old and people from all different, cultural backgrounds, and then they can appreciate what we're doing with our music.
What are the challenges? So the challenges, if you're just coming from an American music perspective, you're used to doing rhythms in three like waltzes and or 6, and then you're doing stuff in 4. Like, just 4 beats or 3 beats. Okay, those are like typical time signatures. But then when you go into Indian classical music, you're learning a different concept.
When we play together, he assumes the role of the tabla, which is the traditional percussion instrument for North Indian classical music. So that was a little different for my ear initially, but he does a great job kind of like really making it very clear where we are in the rhythm cycle, which is super important in the style of music that I play. We don't modulate or change keys. It's all basically in one key. So kind of playing over chord progressions takes a little bit more concentration and focus on that rather than just playing, in one particular pitch.
You gotta be present. You gotta be present to realize when things are changing up, and you just gotta be on your toes, you know?
So I play a 5-string violin. Normally violins are 4-string, but this one I picked up in India. So my violin is tuned in one key, which is D. So I have a D string, A string, D string, A string, and then another D string. So that's different, different from the Western tuning. We hold it angled like this. Seated on the floor, the scroll would rest on my ankle, and there's a technique that is very important in Indian music, which is called meend, and it's actually the sliding, a technique where you slide to the note from below or above, and holding the violin like this gives me that flexibility with the fingerboard going that way to be able to do that sliding technique, as opposed to up here it's a little bit more rigid.
With my instrument, it's like, okay, I'm using the human voice to sound like an instrument.
Yeah.
You know, the
Exactly.
beatbox has its own challenges, you know, because I can't play multiple sounds at once like a drum set. Like with a drum set, you can hit this ride cymbal and the note will sustain. And over top of the sustaining note, you could do a kick or a snare. But with beatbox, because it is breathing in and out, you can only do one sound at a time. Like if I do and I want to put a on a tune of 4. Now, because it's really close together, it sounds like they're happening at the same time, but no, it stops for this and this and that. So it has its own challenges for beatbox.
So I released my debut album in 2014 called Exit 1. Chris is featured on 2 tracks on that album. Chris also has lots of
yeah,
albums.
you know, I have a little something. So I have some recordings out there and some albums, and one of those albums, Chris was making in concert. It's a collection of live recordings at the Mansion at Strathmore and the Kennedy Center. And Mr. Rogers on one of those, a song that I have called Bow Cut, which is about getting an awful haircut. I started doing this concert series in DC called the Washington Sound Museum, and it's like being like a kid in the toy store for me, because it's like, I always wanted to mix these different sounds. I want to do rap and go-go, but over top of Irish traditional music. This project is what allows me to do this, and this is when we started working, we did a Washington Sound Museum performance.
On my debut album, I think every track is featuring a different musician that I've worked with from a different genre. So I think that is, like what Chris says, it's really exciting as musicians to find intersections and build together, create together, be inspired together.
You would think like certain artists, because it's like, our ears are tuned a little different. We're used to hearing this music like this. This is totally outside the realm. But then when the beat come in, you hear it, people are so appreciative and receptive, because, you know, it all has its basis in Africa, right?
And I think younger Indian audiences too, they really hold on to that one element of hearing the Indian classical, like the ragas, but then they hear this completely different sound, the beatboxing, which is more contemporary and fresh sounding, and blending them together. It's like, I can hold on to my culture, but yet also be able to experience what's more relevant to me in my life these days, you know, so.
We just finished doing a tour in the Midwest in the Quad Cities, so we were in Illinois and Iowa. And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little chill pill real quick and work on this album.
Yeah.
Man, you know, I mean, you know, I'm a dude, but I feel like it's about to be like the equivalent of giving birth to something. So you like, I need all the nutrients, vitamins and minerals, and I need to focus.
Yeah, putting together an album, it's a lot behind just the music. So that's gonna be our big project.
Just like perfect blend, you know, without compromise, you know what I'm saying? You know, you could do what comes natural to you, I do what comes natural to me, and I think that's another thing about our collaboration too, is like, we do what comes natural to each other, but we find the places where it comes together.
a unique sound? Fabulous. Well, we'll have more art to share from the DMV on our next show. Until then, I'm Anqoinette Crosby, and always remember to follow your art.
This program was produced by WHUT, Howard University Television, and made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.